Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I am Drue Hatfield, and I am the NCCE Executive Assistant.
And how long have you been doing that?
I have been here for 4 years now.
And how did you get involved in this area?
It started when I was quite young. My mother was the director of sales and catering in Idaho Falls, where I grew up. And so, as soon as I was able to work, I was in that field, and I've just kind of grown up around it. But in this specific event planning side of things, about 4 years.
And how do you like it?
It's exciting. It's hard work, but it's definitely rewarding once you get to see what you've created and done. And if you like to be an organized person and put on events, then it's a great position for you. Every day you get to plan something different, and you get to plan every little detail, which in my world, being a control freak, is awesome.
Well, tell me a little bit about the specifics of what it is that you do with your job. What is it all about?
Okay, well, it's the Northwest Council for Computer Education. So it is a nonprofit organization that's been around for 41 years. It started off as a math conference and became a technology conference for educators in the Northwest. Um, we are the largest educational conference in the Northwest for about 3,000 people.
So your conference is for 3,000 people, and it's
Correct.
once a year?
Once a year, it's either in February or March. Educators from all over the Pacific Northwest come. We have principals, teachers, IT directors, superintendents, everything. And it's just about how you use technology in the classroom.
So your job is to make this conference happen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you go about doing that?
Yeah. Yes. We start off, it takes a year to plan the event. Thank goodness we have a whole year. We start off with call for proposals, usually about right when the other conference the year before is closing, and I am basically in charge of all of the speakers. We have over 150 workshops and 200 sessions, and so I'm in charge of organizing all of those, getting the rooms, working the contracts with the convention center. We do book out a lot of hotels in the city, so I work with all the hotels in the city to get rates and, the per diems and things that we need to get for the educators. We work with all the special events, so if we're going to have a party one of the nights of the conference, I'm in charge of finding locations and booking those, creating menus. We also have a board that I support throughout the year, so I have to plan all of their meetings and take care of them.
It's like a board of directors.
Correct. So I have to take care of their accommodations, their traveling, get them reimbursed for any expenses that they might have. I'm also just there for them as their contact through the organization. So I have to keep them happy as well.
That sounds like a big job. How do you stay organized?
It's about just prioritizing and know when things are due. One of my greatest skills, I think, is that I have a great idea of a timeline, and I know what needs to be done and when, and I know how to plan that out in advance. We have something called an advance program that goes out to 35,000 people, and it usually, my boss likes it to be in their mailboxes by the 31st, so I am the one planning ahead of time, which means I have to get loads of people in line before that. So it's all about knowing what you can do, when you can do it, and how long it's going to take.
Is that a software program or?
No.
Okay, so
That is
talk
not.
about your timeline a little bit, because one of the things that the students have been required to do and learn about are timelines for conference planning. So can you talk to us about that?
It depends. You can either, when I first started, there are so many people that are in the planning industry that they will help you with that. So hotels, for instance, when I book with them, I have certain things that they need to have by certain times, so they will provide me with a timeline and say, we need this by then. As far as projects that we're doing in-house, you have to learn if it's printed material, you have to know how long it takes to turn around and work backwards from there. You have to look at what your goal is and move backwards as far as how long it's going to take you to do a certain task.
And you're pretty good about being able to stay on. Any tips for that for people who might be learning how to stay on task and how to look at the big picture?
Well, it's very, very hard if you are, for me, I'm the head person, so all the NCC emails come through me, all of the all of the phone calls and stuff come through. So I'm the head of the communication basically for NCCE to the outside world. And I do get in situations where I'm working on a project but I'm getting hit with all this other stuff. There's ways that with your email you can set up that if anything's tagged with, for instance, we have iPad classes that are just so time consuming and people have a million questions. So if I tag anything that says iPads, it goes into a folder so I don't even see it in my inbox until I'm ready to go there so I can concentrate on getting all of my paperwork done for the conference. And then when I'm ready, I'll go to that folder and address those issues. So there are things as far as programs that you can do to help you with that. I think a lot of it comes with your experience as you really take notes when you're going through the first time, because you'll look back on your notes and say, okay, last year it took me 2 weeks to do this part of our program, so I'm going to need at least 2 weeks this year, or I didn't need to take as long, blah blah blah. So that's what I do, is I look back.
So time management skills are really important in this business.
Yes, especially when you have an executive director who you are assisting, as well as a board that you're assisting and you're planning, because you need to be able to prioritize what things need to be done first. Usually it's what your boss, what your executive director is asking you, because they want those things first. But you have to ask, is this something that needs to be done right now, or can I finish this first?
So talk to us a little bit about what you do for terms of record keeping and keeping track of the paperwork that's involved in this business.
Okay, so as far as the billing and stuff goes, I get all of the invoices and everything and give them to our accountant, but then I have to file them and keep all of them, and it's done by our fiscal year. So I have all those folders laid out in the office, and I file everything away when I get that. As far as the conference goes, there is documentation of everything, all of our contracts, all of our speaker contracts, what the spaces looked like, things like that. And I keep a binder that has, once the year's done with that conference, I have my binder and I organize it, and we go back. We switch cities every year. So a big thing is we like to compare our cost from 2012 to 2010, because it was the same location. We want to see if we're paying the same amount, or if it's gotten larger or gotten smaller. So I refer back to those. I go back to my folders years and years and previous.
Are you involved in the budget development?
Yes and no. I mean, the executive director has the final say on all financial things. She's the one that signs all the contracts. I merely put together the information so that she can compare apples to apples. So I'm the one getting everything ready for her to look at, but she's the one that makes
final
the
say, authority. Mm-hmm. And then what about if things that happen in the conference that come up that weren't part of your budget that you have to spend money on? Do you have a process for that? Like a change order or anything?
No, we are very, very lucky because with our organization, it is so small. It is the executive director and myself as the full-time employees. And so when things come up that we need to spend extra money for, I find out all the details, just like I would with anything else that comes with finances. And then I bring it to Heidi, our executive director, and I say, I need to add 5 microphones to this room for a workshop. It's going to cost us $450. Do you approve? And she asks all these behind the scene questions, how many people will be in there, what, blah, 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 and she has to be the one that makes the final decision.
But you're getting all the details, you're getting
yes.
all the possibilities and the costs associated with those and doing all the legwork.
Yes, that's a big part, is the legwork. You do a lot of the legwork for final decisions to be made.
So let's talk about when you're planning this conference, what would be a typical day for you?
It's depending on what time of year it is. Right now, we're in December. Our conference is going to be in March. So we've already got out a lot of our marketing material. We've already picked all of our presentations. Right now, I'm just tying up loose ends with speakers, sending them emails. Hey, I haven't heard from you. Are you going to present or not? And we're working with the convention center to get all of our bids on our electrical, getting the room set up the way we need to be, working with our sponsors to make sure that we're getting the laptops they're going to provide and the shipping information that they need. So we're moving closer to the event. Yeah.
So it varies depending on the time of year what you might be doing.
Definitely. Quite a bit, yes.
Okay, well you mentioned marketing materials and also sponsors.
Yes.
And those are 2 subjects that I'd like to talk about for just briefly. So what are your marketing materials? What would they be like?
Okay, so we have a calendar of our marketing things that come out. We have a part-time marketing director that works on the content usually for the products that we make. So in May of last year, we started making our sponsorship brochure for 2012 conference.
So you started that the year before.
Mm-hmm. So Sally, who is our marketing director, pulls all the content, and basically it's, what is NCCE, what's our demographics, which I have to provide her with, who came last year. That's our bread and butter of getting the sponsorship dollars. What they could bring, all those things, and it's, a little 3-4 page thing that is a pamphlet, I guess you would say.
A brochure.
Thank you. And we every year, our NCCE, we pride ourselves because we have themes, different themes every year. So when we start the sponsorship brochure, we are very into what the look is going to be for the year, what colors are going to be our colors, and what, this year it's Western. So a lot of oranges and browns, and those things might seem really small, but for me, I'm the one going, no, I don't like that. We need to change that. I'm very persnickety on the way that things look, which usually executive assistants don't have that role, but marketing is a big part of my position. So we have that gets done in May, and it's sent out to all of the people that exhibited at our event, sponsored our event, or people that are interested in exhibiting at a technology conference. In July, I start what's called the advanced program, and that is, like I said, goes to 35,000 educators in the Pacific Northwest, some of our sponsors, some of our exhibitors. It has pretty much your preview of the whole conference. So I have to have all of the workshops selected, and all their information goes in there, how much registration is going to be, what special events we're going to do, who our committee is. I mean, it's the nuts and bolts of the conference, and that has to be in everybody's mailboxes by Halloween. So that's a big, big project. And when it's August, September, and October, that's what consumes my time, is not only I have to get all the planning organized, because that has to go to print, and that's what has to happen at the conference. After that, we do a lot of postcard mailings for specific audiences. So we have a teacher librarian summit. So right now we were working on pulling all the information for our teacher librarians to come to our conference, and we just did a big mailing today, actually, to I think 5,000 teacher librarians within the Pacific Northwest.
It's a postcard.
We'll do a postcard for Save the Date that goes out in September. We do a postcard for our audiences. So if we have certain IT directors, we'll make something that's special for them. So we have about 4 or 5 that will go out between November to the end of January. And then in January, my big thing is I'm working on the final program, which is the program that they will get when they come to the conference. And that has all the sessions, which are different from workshops.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
Tell us about concurrent sessions as opposed to workshops.
Okay. Our workshops are either, they're 3 hours, and they're either hands-on, where you're actually on a laptop working through everything, or they're bring your own. So you bring your own computer in and you're working on them. We have speakers that we bring in from different areas that we know of, and we ask them to speak about specific topics. We have speakers that propose something, and we decide if we like that or not. And then we also have sponsors that will be doing presentations about their products, and people pay an additional fee to go to these.
So that's part of your revenue.
Correct. Big part of our revenue. Workshops is one of the largest chunks of our revenue.
Pay a fee for each workshop they go to.
Correct. Okay. Correct. We also have summits, which are all-day workshops, and those are a big part of our revenue as well. Then we have on Thursday and Friday of our conference, we have sessions. So if you come and you pay the conference registration fee, you're going to come to our sessions and our keynote. So you can come to our sessions and keynotes and pay an additional fee and go to our workshops. Or you could just do the conference. Or you could just do a workshop. So
you can mix and match depending on what your interest is.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about a keynote, because that's a term that students have learned about in terms of hiring professional speakers. And so talk to us a little bit about that, along with then developing a theme, so we can get back to themes. But talk about the keynote, if you would.
Okay, when we plan our keynote, we do a few different things. Either we would have a sponsor that would bring one in. the last few years, Discovery Education's been a very large sponsor of ours, so they've brought in keynotes the last few years, which we don't pay for. We don't have to worry about, like, they just talk about what they're